All right, let's get back to it. Last time we left off, we're talking about steps 6 and 7, and then a break in between there. And today I'm going to talk to you guys about steps 8 and 9. Again, how I look at it and kind of how I've done it in the past. Now, these again, I've mentioned before that there's two steps that we go through that are number one, the meat of the program, step 4. And then there's the other step that I think is there's two of them, and this is the second part of that we really kind of bang our heads against or possibly do half-assed or whatever that may be, and it's steps 9, right? So step 4 is the inventory process. Man, it really sucks. I don't want to look at myself. I don't want to have to dissect these fears. I don't want to see the way that I have shown up and the consistency that no matter where I go, there I am. I bring a lot of the same behaviors and character defects to every part of my life and every relationship in my life that I go to. And I'm having to look myself in the mirror. And again, it's super uncomfortable. But do I want to change? Do I want to live life different? Or do I want to continuously allow myself to sit and ruminate in resentment or fear? And I need to look at these things. It's a dissection of my life. It's a crack back into the past, and it takes a lot of time and effort and honesty and willingness and a lot of open-mindedness, the indispensables. And so I get through that portion, right? I've read all these things to my sponsor. I've gotten some feedback. I'm looking at the 7 deadly character defects or the 7 deadly sins, and I'm seeing how these character defects are running my life and how they show up and how I can start practicing the opposite, how I can ask for accountability in order to gain some awareness, right? Okay, man. And just when you think like you're in the clear of all that, and you have, like I've mentioned, you have this point of control that is placed back, the choice, I should say, not control, the choice to be honest again, the choice to have awareness, the choice to see these spiritual experiences that are possibly happening all around me, and not so much am I focusing on those things happening to me. And okay, great. Now what's next? I'm trying to really navigate my life to become a better person. And man, I feel like I've just been punched in the mouth every corner and every turn that I go. And then I finally got some freedom within myself and some truth that I'm willing to accept for the first time. I'm not just constantly deflecting this perspective of the character defects that are brought to me, and I'm really wanting to change. So I'm really looking and diving as deep as I possibly can. My brain hurts, and then we get to steps 8 and 9, and these are the steps where we're going to look at the people and we're going to write a list. Step 8, basically, it's a lot to do with love, and the point of why it's love is because it's a shift from self-obsession to a shift of selfless concern, right? So selfish obsession to selfless concern. That's where we're headed here. And basically the point of all that is I'm going to make a list of the people that I have harmed in my life. A lot of times through the inventory process, you're going to get some of these out too. Who do I owe amends to? Because steps 8 and 9 it's around the amends process. And man, dude, even as I sit here or talk to you guys today, I struggle with this right now. I mean, I'm even having a situation that's not necessary for me to speak on today, because I'm not going to, mud you up with my personal stuff, but I'm not afraid to talk about it whatsoever. But I'm in a stage in my life right now where I do owe some current amends, and I'm working through that process of that to make them right, because I want to be better. No matter what I do, I want to be able to change those things in order to be better, to be a better human being, to right my wrongs, no matter how big or how small. And then it's an everlasting thing they're gonna pop up for the rest of my life. The difference is, am I going to just say F it, forget this shit, I'm not messing with them, or am I going to look at my part, what could I have done better, and clean my side of the street? Because that's what's important. The amends process is that when you're first writing your inventory, depending on how deep you've gone before you look at it, because the first time of your inventory process, there's going to be a lot. There's going to be a lot of names on there, a lot of people that I've caused harm to, a lot of people that I owe a conversation with to make an amends. And don't get this confused. An amends is different than an apology, right? And the point of that is to say is, how many times have we apologized? How many times have I said, I'm sorry, to follow that up with no action, just to do the same thing over again? Me, millions of times to the same people, especially the people that I love the most. It's the people that I end up hurting the most. And the apologies just don't hit like they used to. A basic apology looks a lot different when hey man, I'm sorry for the way that I've shown up. I'm sorry for my actions. I'm sorry that I've caused some harms to you. But I'm not following those things up with any action to say that I'm actually truly sorry, right? I didn't correct those things. There was no corrective measures in there that I followed through with. And so the amends is different. So I'm going to write this list of amends, right? The people that I owe amends to. And the truth is, if you were like me, it's hard to get them all on there. I'm looking at this list and it's extremely daunting. I'm like, golly. I look at all these names that are all down here. I'm like, I have been a terrible person. And I've hurt a lot of people through that process. I was looking at this, how am I going to accomplish this? Like how am I going to set out and make all these amends? Because when you look in the big book and you're looking at Bill, you're looking at Bill, and it says in the book how long it took him to make all his amends. It was one day. And I'm like, man, we might as well give up right now because that ain't happening for me. All these people, like half of them probably don't ever want to talk to me again. Half of them might not even return a phone call or speak to me, and I get that. And it's one bite at a time, right? How you eat an elephant. It's one little step at a time, little common approach. And we make it to where we want to create it as a business-like meeting with someone. And there's a formality to it that we like to say is like, if I have this person that I owe amends to, then it probably would be the proper thing for me to do would be to reach out to that person and explain kind of what I'm trying to do, to even see if they would accept the invitation for me to sit down with them or conversate with them. And we don't have to go all crazy. There's some people, sponsors, that think this has to be D2D with absolutely everybody. And the big book is very clear on that. If we cannot sit down with that person, then we send them an honest letter. It's 2025. There's several ways for us to communicate. There will be ones in there for sure, probably a lot of them that deserve the knee-to-knee or sitting across the table or a face-to-face experience to make these amends. And if your story has relapse in it, then get ready because you'll probably be making an amends again to the same person. And that's frustrating too, because your mind will trip yourself out to be like, well, I've already been down this road. I gotta have this much sobriety before I make this amends again. And that might be a boundary that person sets with you. Hey, you know what? Try having, I don't know, when you get a couple years sober, come back and have the same conversation. And the right thing for you to do is you'll respect that situation. You'll respect it. This is, I don't know, the amends process, in my opinion, is one of the most eye-opening, most beautiful experiences that we get to have. At the same time, it's one of the most nerve-wracking, like that pit of your stomach. I can't explain it. And I think it's like that last final like push of like truly walking through fear and getting on the other side of what that looks like to be courageous in the moment where you're sitting outside in your car and you're on the curb and you're about to go into this house and make an amends to this person, and you're thinking and you're driving yourself crazy with all the things and how this is going to go, and you try to invite God into the situation and see how it goes, and who knows, right? There'll be people that you're going to sit down with that'll tell you, to kick rocks. There'll be people that'll tell you they never want to speak to you again, like I mentioned earlier. Some of the hardest ones you think are going to be might be the easiest. Some of the most beautiful conversations that you'll have with people. And a lot of times the end result of those conversations is for you to be this person. They're going to say, hey, I want you to be this person. Like, we missed this guy. Please be this person. We know you can do it. We know your capabilities. We know what's truly within your heart. We just want you to live a life of recovery, of helping other people, leading with good things, And some people will grill you. Some people are going to sit across from the table of them. You're going to make amends for the process and the things that you have done, and they're going to give it to you, and rightfully so. You sit there and you take it, because we deserve that. And our job here is to make that contact, to make the amends, and to get on the other side of it, to clean our side of the street. And whatever happens after that, it's done. You've done your due diligence within that. There's financial amends. Some of us have stolen things. Some of us has gone into Home Depot, HEB, whatever it is. And a lot of this process, I'm not going to tell you how to do it. We utilize sponsors in this situation for this, is talk to your sponsor individually about every amends that you're going to make. Do not go Lone Ranger in this. Do not find yourself walking down the street. You see someone you owe an amends to, rush up to them and start this whole amends process. That would be selfish, right? We want to be able to make the approach in order to do it properly. And then in life, there are situations for sure for apologies. It's not like I want to take this out of it. It's like, hey, we can never apologize again, because no, that's not the case. The idea is that now I can become an apologetic person, that when I hurt someone's feelings, I can apologize within the moment, right? To shorten that window of the gap of just like holding on to resentment and going down the road. Now I find myself writing resentment inventory on this person. I'm having to do multiple 10 steps about this person to get perspective, and it's really messing up my internal condition. This is kind of like the meat of what I'm trying to say, is that our words don't mean as much as they used to, right? We have used this over and over and over again, and most of us in this program have pretty good mouthpieces, and the people that we've harmed and the people that are close to us and our families, they're not as interested in that anymore. The feet are gonna do the talking for the foreseeable future and possibly the rest of our lives. Like what they are doing with their lives, the things they are participating in. When they say they're gonna be there, they're there. They're people of their word, right? Their integrity is intact. That's going to do so much more than me trying to convince you with my mouth and my words of how great things are going and how amazing this is. And I'm just create this, this total chaotic narrative. And so a lot of it, again, will be the living amends process. There is a way to do amends for people who have passed away. There's an outline on, and we got to be careful about how we do it, right? Because you can break it into like possibly 3 categories. Ones I need to do as soon as possible, ones that partial restitution can be paid to, and then the ones that need to be deferred. And the conversations need to be had around this, because our idea is not to be selfish at all in this, and we are not to harm other people with the process of making our amends. And although I'm not as like fired up about this process, I'm not going to sit here and harp on this principle of love and harp on this principle of justice like you see me do in a lot of other videos to get you amped up, and it's probably because it seems to me like on the surface, it's just kind of a out front, this is how I do it. Obviously I've harmed people, I need to make amends, but the internal feeling, I think, is probably one of the greatest processes in this step. The freedom that you feel and the fear that you constantly walk through, and the exposure therapy that you get to doing the right thing and then doing it again and attacking it again and going person after person the best that you can. I think the internal lift even gets better and better from doing these amends, and even having the bad ones, even having the people to tell you to never talk to them again, and people being like, yeah, you were a shitty person and I don't want you back in my life. And I respect that, right? It's being able to walk through those things. I think that makes us this whole self-actualization of self-total awareness of the human being that we're trying to be. Otherwise, we just sweep it under the rug and try to move on, and that's really easy for us to do in life in general. Even as recovered people, I don't care how much time you have or how much freedom you feel like you've accessed. Like, this still becomes one of the hardest things, because what it shows me in the process is like I have this pride thing a lot within me, and not always do I want to apologize, and not always do I want to be able to look at my part in things and go sit down and apologize for what I brought to the table, and maybe how hard I've made this process for that person, because I'm so self-absorbed that I can look at only how this is affecting me. And if only, again, they would act correctly, then life would be so easy. This is a point to really right the wrongs. It's to come to the table and make the proper amends, and to hopefully leave that conversation and be a light and an example of the amends, that I'm continuing to work on my life. I'm continuing to be a better person. I'm continuing to be what I say that I'm doing, but my feet are constantly, or now I should say, doing the work. This is not a step that I think that gets you just amped up to go, attack life and let's go beat their ass or whatever it is. Let's run through that damn wall, because that's typically the type of person that I am. Like, I want to look at something, I want to get some motivation and some drive behind it, and let's go do it, dude. This is more scary. You know what I mean? This is like an internal thing that like really makes me feel very, very small because no motivation and being amped. There's no like 4th and 1 on the goal line, 1 second left. None of that remember the Titans feeling or whatever favorite movie that gives you the most like motivation. That doesn't come from this. This is like a really sound, like sacred space that we're coming to meet to lay all my vulnerabilities at the table without any idea of how this is going to go. Before I go into it, I truly have to trust and allow God to work within it, and knowing that it's not always going to come out pretty. It's not always going to seem polished, but a conversation will be had. I will own up to the things that I have done. And what happens after that, I can leave, right? I get to work a step 3, surrender in that process and lay it down. I get to keep walking, and I don't have to pick it up anymore. I don't have to pick it up anymore if I choose to, because I know I'm doing the right thing. This is like when it starts talks about step 6 and 7 of being like the step that separates the boys from the men or the women from the girls. I wish that in my mind, this even more so says that to me, because it's easy to be like, I'll make a few amends, life's starting to look good, and I kind of move forward with that process. And that's me for sure. I've done those things. There's probably people in my life that I dang sure owe a conversation with from the past of inventories that I've done or the past mistakes. And I'm just like, dang, either I'm too ashamed to do it, either I'm too much of a coward to do it, I'm scared of how it's going to go, or I don't feel like I deserve the opportunity to do that anymore based upon my past behaviors. Fear, right? It all comes down to fear. I hope you have a great experience with working these steps. The easy part will be putting the names on the list, and then learning down the road, more will start popping on that list. The hard part is sitting down and having those conversations and not getting just a little bit of freedom that gives you motivation and saying, hey, I've kind of completed it, but to follow through with the process. I'm here with you, and it opens my eyes to it. We're all growing and we're learning and trying to navigate this to become the best possible versions of ourselves that we can be. This step really kind of cements that. And it really is the last phase to which projects us into like maintenance in our lives. And when things prop up, we take care of it immediately. I hope you have great experiences. I hope you have experiences that you're like, man, I didn't know it was going to go that bad. Or man, I didn't know it was going to go that good. But at the end of it, I hope you're like, but God. God shows up however he does, whether the lesson is immediate and the realization is in the moment of the amends, or maybe it's down the road. But to know that you are growing and you're doing the best thing that you can possibly do for yourself and your recovery, which by proxy affects the people around you. That's the point of it. Love, justice.